I'm going to do a quick material sample for Peakt Transformation Cultural to Non-Arbitrary Pictures 10B. For this program, it seems a little complicated, but once we run through it, I think you'll kind of see how this works. So for Stimuli A, you're going to need 6 pictures that belong to 2 categories where 2 images belong to both categories. So here we have cookies, oranges, strawberries, bread, and corn dogs. Okay, so all of these belong to food, but strawberries and oranges belong to fruit. So that would be one sample for what you could use for stimuli. So that was our stimuli B. We did food and fruit. Another one might be animals. And then animals that belong in the C would be these 2. So that would apply to animals, and they belong to the C. So that would be a sample of what you might use for your stimuli A. Stimuli B is just the category names. And then for your Y stimuli, you're going to want just different shapes and various colors. So you're going to need a set of 8. So we have 1 set there for test class 1. 1 set here for test class 2. There's another 8 symbols. And then what we went on ahead and did also for this particular participant, which you may not need to do, is just kind of putting a sample. Okay, so in each of our bowls I'll show you, we'll do a sample of something that belongs to the C, something that belongs to animals, and then our 2 samples for food, and fruit. Okay, so that's just kind of a sample of what the materials themselves would look like. We also use just colored bowls. You could use like any containers. I'm just going to put all 4 close together so you can kind of see how this part would work. So step 1 is train A to B. Actually, I'm going to clear these bowls out. So step 1, train A to B. You're going to give the participant the 6 images, and you're going to ask them 2 questions. So you're going to ask them which belong to animals, and they should hopefully give all of them. Which belong to the C, and then they should hopefully only give you these 2. So those 2 questions are in 1 trial. Okay, and so then you would go to the next one, and it might be a repeat of this, or it might be switched to the other categories. And so you're going to run it back and forth with those, with 2 questions per trial between your stack of animals and C and food and fruit. Those are all trained. So you're going to prompt, provide feedback. Then for step 2 is test B to A. You're going to go through the whole stack. So you're going to kind of mix them up. And this is test, so no feedback. What does this belong to? And they would hopefully say animal. What does this belong to? Hopefully they would say animal. What does this belong to? Animal. What does this belong to? C or animal. What does this belong to? C or animal. So that's the goal out of this. Same thing with these. So fruit, fruit, food, food, food. Or they might say fruit and food or fruit or food. But again, that's all tests. You're not prompting, you're not giving any feedback. You're just scoring either 0s or 10s. And you repeat with all of the images. So your entire score is going to be based on if they get all 5 of these correct. If they get 1 of them wrong, it's an automatic 0. They have to get all 5 of these correct with the category to get a 10 for that. So then for step 3 is test Y to Z. This is where the bowls come into play, or containers. We just kind of put these out to make it easy. You could use clear plastics. And then so for example, if we were running the animal class, we would have 1 bowl with an animal, something that belongs to the C, and then those samples. Now, I ran this also in the demonstration. I do suggest, you'll see in the demonstration, like every time the participant puts something in the bowl, I have to pull that sample back out and put it up on top, because if it gets covered, it's going to be super confusing for the participant to know how to match. So what I would suggest is either coming up with a different container configuration so that you don't have to dig that out each time, and kind of put it on the edge of it, or something like that, so that you're not having to keep that out on top. So again, you're going to put your 4 samples down, and then run it one of 2 ways depending on the participant. Hopefully you can hand them the whole stack. Usually what we do though is just hand the participant 1 by 1 and tell them to match. So they would hopefully put green with green, pink with pink, C with C. And again, I'm not pulling this sample back out in the top for this. Oops, I made a mistake. Okay, so that's how it would be if it was correct. Again, if any one of those is mismatched, it would automatically be a 0. You can't correct, you can't prompt, you can't give feedback. So again, if you're using something like this where you have to pull the sample back out, whether they get it right or wrong, every time you should be pulling that sample out and reacting in the exact same way so that you're not inadvertently prompting or giving feedback for any of those trials. So that's just kind of a quick material sample of what you might use for the picture cards and things like that. And I hope that is helpful to run Peak Transformation Cultural to Non-Arbitrary Pictures 10B.